They genuinely cannot process what they just witnessed. 14,000 people paid to be in that built higher foundation that women's MMA stands on today. She walked into the UFC at a time when Dana White swore women would never compete there, and she made him change the rules. Full stop. And Gina Carano? She was the blueprint before Ronda even arrived. The first mainstream face of women's combat sports. The woman who proved the world would actually pay to watch women fight. These two never fought at the peak of their careers. For years, literally years, fans dreamed about it. In front of the whole world. And then it lasted 17 seconds. So the setup. Let me paint you the full picture of Saturday night, because the fight itself is only half the story. Jake Paul's most valuable promotions turned Intuit Dome into something that felt less like a sporting event and more like a Netflix special come to life. Celebrities everywhere. Influencers. Former champions. A crowd that had been building for this moment for months. And the undercard? It delivered chaos before the main event even got close. Cuban heavyweight Robles Despain flattened former UFC champion Junior Dos Santos with a brutal first-round knockout. Francis Ngannou, yes, the Francis Ngannou, came back and absolutely starched Philippe Lins with a terrifying counter left hand, then circled the cage screaming toward John Jones sitting cageside. The crowd lost its mind. And then Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz happened. Think about that for a second. By the time the co-main event was over, the canvas looked like a crime scene. Diaz's face was split open. Perry was storming around the cage demanding a fight with Jake Paul. Fans were standing on their chairs trying to film the madness below them. The whole building was already electric. Already wound up. Already screaming. And then the lights went down for the main event. Act 2, the explosion. Joan Jett's bad reputation hits the speakers. And the Intuit Dome just erupts. Ronda Rousey walks out wearing that skull. That exact same skull from 2013, from 2014, from every fight that made her a legend. It was like stepping into a time machine. Across the cage, Gina Carano. 44 years old. She hadn't competed in MMA since 2009. 17 years away from the sport. And to get to this moment, she lost 100 pounds. 100. Over 20 months of training, sacrifice, and 3 a.m. wake-ups thinking about this fight. You feel that? She woke up at 3 in the morning. Every day. Thinking about Ronda. And they're finally here. The referee, Big John McCarthy, an absolute legend, and ask yourself this. If you bought a ticket to that show, how would you feel walking out of that arena? Because that answer tells you everything about why this story is still dominating every conversation today. Act 3, the fallout. Rousey stands in the middle of the cage, victorious. Microphone in hand. Smiling. And what does she say? There's no way I could have ended it better than this. I want to have some more babies and I've got to get cooking. She's done. Permanently. Walking away again, started demanding Netflix offer a free month of service as compensation. WWE veteran Jim Cornette went online and pointed out, and I'm quoting this, because it's genuinely brutal, that the post-fight hug between Rousey and Carano lasted longer than the actual fight. Shannon Sharpe was not impressed. Fans across college football, NFL, and combat sports communities all piled in. The phrases, greatest scam of all time, and highway robbery started trending. But here's the other side of this, and you need to hear it. After the fight, Ronda looked Gina in the eyes and called her, and I quote, her FNG hero. Because Carano was the door opener. The woman who came first. The woman who proved it was possible. And Rousey said she could never pay that back enough. And Carano, who couldn't throw a single punch in the fight, said this, I woke up at 3 a.m. every morning thinking about her. I took 100 pounds off my body. I fell back in love with mixed martial arts. Getting in the cage after 17 years is a victory. Fighting a legend is a victory. You can be angry about 17 seconds. Or you can sit with what those 17 seconds actually represented for two women who changed a sport forever. Here is my honest take, and this is pure opinion, so take it for what it is. Ronda Rousey's legacy was broken. Not by her. By two losses that came too fast, too public, too brutal. Holly Holm. Amanda Nunes. Back to back. She walked into those fights as the most dominant force in MMA and walked out of both as a cautionary tale about what happens when the world finally catches up to you. That has followed her for nearly a decade. Saturday night, she got to rewrite the last line of her story. And whether you think 17 seconds was enough, she clearly did. She said it herself, it was beautiful martial arts. It was art. Opinion. I think Ronda needed this more than anyone realized. Not for the money. Not for the fans. For herself. Now, what are people actually saying? Fans are genuinely split right down the middle. One side is posting the clip on a loop calling it Vintage Rousey, a perfect storybook ending. The other side is calling it a mismatch that never should have been sanctioned, a feel-good PR stunt dressed up as a real fight. Industry insiders, and this is unverified, so flag it as speculation, suggest that behind the scenes, there were conversations about whether Carano, given her 17-year layoff, was ever a realistic opponent for a fighter of Rousey's caliber, even a Rousey returning after 10 years away. Take that for what it's worth. But here is the question I keep coming back to. Should a legendary ending feel earned by the fans who showed up, or is it enough that it felt earned by the fighter herself? Tell me what you actually think. Drop it below. I read every single comment on this channel, especially when the takes are this divided. Next week, we are going deep on Gina Carano's full story, the 100 pounds, the 17 years, the comeback nobody thought was real, and what she actually said when the cameras stopped rolling. That video is going to hit different, and you do not want to miss it. If this kind of storytelling is what you come here for, subscribing takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely keeps this channel alive. The subscribe button is right there. Pin your take in the comments. Team legendary ending or team we got robbed. Let's see which side actually wins. And the last thing I'll leave you with. Gina Carano lost in 17 seconds after 17 years away. And she called it a victory. Sit with that for a while.